Uncertainty in measurement. In chemistry, we are usually using measuring devices in labs, and it's important that we read them correctly. Every measuring device has some uncertainty. You're not 100% sure that that's the reading, and it's just built in basically on their scale. The more spread out the scale, the more uncertain it is. So let's look at three different pieces of equipment here and talk about their uncertainty. So if we look at the Erlenmeyer flask, which really is never used to measure because of the great uncertainty of this piece of equipment, this particular one is broken up by, if you notice, 100 and then another line. Well, that's the 50 line. Even though there's not a number there, we know that that's 50 because it's halfway in between, and then 200, then 250, and so on. So the uncertainty of this particular guy is going to be halfway to that first mark. And so if I'm at 100, if I go halfway, it's not quite halfway, but if I go halfway, then I know that that guy is 25. And so I'm pretty certain that that's 25. And so to figure out the uncertainty, I took the what its go-by number is. So this is 100, 150, 200, 250. My go-by number was 50, and I divided it by 2 because I can pretty much split it in half. And so its uncertainty is 25 milliliters. So if I was going to measure in here, let's say that I have some water all filled in, to this point. And if I take a look, what would this read? Well, I can read the 200, I can read the 250, but then I need to kind of make a guess. And so I think it's about halfway, but maybe not quite. So let's say that it's, 20 more. So I'm going to call that 270, but I'm plus or minus 25 milliliters. That's how far I can be off. So that's the reading for this Erlenmeyer flask. Well, let's do the same thing with the graduated cylinder. First thing we need to figure out is what is the go-by number. So the go-by number, if we look, it goes by 10 to 20, and there are little lines in here. Or let's start at the 60. To get to 70, I know that this is 60, 62, 64, 66, 68. So then that would be 70. So what am I going by? My go-by number is 2. So what's my uncertainty? Again, I can guess halfway in between. So always divide by 2 to figure out your uncertainty. So my go-by number 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1 milliliter. Wow, that's a little bit more certain than 25. Look at the comparison, 1 milliliter versus 25 milliliters. So if I were to read this graduated cylinder, let's just go with the mark that I just did. So let's say that that's, again, we read the bottom of the meniscus. And so if I'm right here, what can I read? I can read the 60. I know this is 62. I know this is 64. I know this is 66. So I think I'm halfway in between. That's kind of my guess. The guess is at 7. It's plus or minus 1 milliliter, which means really it could be 68 or 66. It's how far I'm off. So again, the more lines you have, the more accurate you are. So now let's look at this last little graduated cylinder. First thing we need to figure out, what is our go-by? Well, our go-by, we're from 50 to 60, and there's 10 little lines, so we're go-by 1. So our go-by number is 1 milliliter. But what do? Divide it by 2. So I know my uncertainty for this one is even more accurate than the previous one, is a half a milliliter. So if I was trying to read where this is at, I know that I'm at 50, 51, 52, and then I'm going to read the bottom of the meniscus, 53. It's not quite to the 53, so I'm going to say 52, let's say 0.8. This number right there is my guess. That is my uncertain number. This was my guess. It's uncertain. Actually, on this one, on this 270, I'm not sure of the, actually not even sure of the 7. So this one would be 52.8 plus or minus 0.5 milliliters. So that's what we do when we're measuring uncertainty of measuring devices.